Hey everyone, Steven here, and today I'm looking at the Keurig K Express coffee maker and the reusable K-Cup pod. I'm upgrading from a Keurig Mini, so I'll be covering the upside of the K Express maker compared to that. Let's start with some specs though, starting with the dimensions. This is 5.1 inches wide, 12.8 inches deep, 12.6 inches tall with the lid closed, and 17.2 inches tall with the lid open. This has a 42 ounce removable reservoir, and this can brew 8, 10, and 12 ounce drinks, with there being a strong brew option. The reservoir doesn't have any measurements on it, but the front panel will let you know when this is low on water, and the top lid isn't attached at all, so be mindful of that as it's easy to accidentally knock it off. You can remove the bottom tray to accommodate travel mugs that are up to 7.4 inches tall, which is nice. The inside portion where you put the K-Cups is the same molding, it's the same type that you would actually find on other models, and it is removable so you can use this reusable K-Cup pod. Which, speaking on that, I'll showcase some footage of it right now. It's very simple to use, but I would keep the user manual just in case something goes wrong with it. So the top is a locking mechanism, and so you'll unlock that and then it pulls and you can actually see the bottom portion and then the actual kind of strainer portion with this. I want to talk a little bit more about why it's important that you make sure this locks, and I'll showcase an example of what happens when it doesn't here in a little bit. I am going to showcase me pulling out the regular kind of molding that you put the K-Cups in. This is something that you actually detach, and it's how you wash this. You do want to make sure that you wash this pretty regularly, but you can pop that thing out, and then this just fits directly inside of that. One thing I do want to note, they put a sticker on this. I'm not a fan of this. It is very hard to get off. It took me quite a while to actually get this off and then to wash it. Really wish they had a better sticker right there for this. So now I'm going to showcase me actually swapping these out. Very easy to do. Pop this regular molding out and then you put the reusable one in there. The first time it takes you a second to kind of figure out, all right, what's the direction? And then once you know it, it's easy to do. I do not have the lid all the way on. And so this is going to be brutal to watch again, but when you don't have that sealed completely, what's going to happen is it's essentially going to just leak all of that fluid over the side, and it's not pretty to watch. So if it doesn't just come down in a straight stream, like this one's kind of spraying everywhere, you know that that lid is not completely on, and it's just going to actually start shooting like just the ground up coffee everywhere also. So if you have this, you want to make sure that it is securely on. Check that before you put it in there so you don't run into that same accident. It is a pain to clean up. So I kind of jumped ahead there talking about the reusable K-Cup. So let's kind of backtrack for a second. In terms of operating this for the first time, everything in terms of setting it up is super easy. It's kind of ready to go right out of the box. What you need to do though, it talks about in the user manual, is actually run a couple cycles of water through this so that it kind of is clean. The other thing that it talks about is caring for the brewer here and the stuff that you want to do in the frequency in terms of running the cleaning pods through it or anything like that, just to make sure that you don't have any buildup of different minerals and things like that inside of the machine, which is just slowly going to break this down over time, or at least slow it down, right? So it's not going to be as efficient, and you don't want that stuff kind of coming out slowly in chunks into your coffee anyways. So you fill the reservoir with water. I did say it doesn't have any labels on it. It doesn't tell you like, hey, this is 8 ounces or anything like that. It just has the max fill line. I filled that all the way up. And then after that, we're going to look at the front panel here, because once you plug it in, it's good to go. You have the different lights that are going to blink right here. So it's asking, do you want 8, 10, or 12 ounces? You can choose the strong button. If you put that, it will actually stay illuminated, and then you just choose the amount of ounces that you want. At the bottom, it's going to flash if you are low on water, which is awesome. So it's not going to try to run that if you don't have enough water. And then if you do need to actually do the descale with this, it will flash that as well. And I like the fact that it's telling you that information. So I ran a couple cycles of the 8 ounces with this just to get some water going through it. Simple, easy to do, doesn't take a ton of time. And then after that, you are ready to brew your first cup of coffee. And so now I want to talk about the things that I really like about this machine before I get into some of the things I don't like and then comparing this to the other Keurig that I have. The first one is, if you watch me push the button, this is pretty quick to actually just start pouring out the water and your cup of coffee is made. I'm blown away by that. It's not quite instantaneous, but it is pretty close. You push this and it's like maybe 5-10 seconds later, it's already brewing your coffee. It's just awesome, because the other one, it took about 30+ seconds, and this one is very quick to do that. Another big one for me was the water reservoir. The other Keurig that I have, you actually have to refill it every single time you want to use it. This one, we can get about 4 or 5 uses before I need to refill it, and so that's just a big time saver. So it's very quick to get the coffee out, and with the water reservoir there, you're not constantly refilling this thing, which is awesome. The only thing I'm not a fan of with that is the lid and how easy it is to remove it. It's convenient, which is nice, but it also is just kind of sitting on top of this. So it's easy to just knock off, although you probably aren't really moving this that much. It would have been nice if it just attached a little bit better to it. Moving on though, let's actually talk about the things that I don't like. And I actually only have a couple things, which is great. The first one is, I'm not a big fan of the shinier plastic. It's just going to scrape up. I really wish they would have just went matte with the whole look on this, because the more scuffs you get on this thing, eventually it's just, that's all you're going to notice is just a bunch of scrapes on the shinier plastic that this has. And then I just mentioned the lid for the water reservoir. That's one of them. But the other thing was that this doesn't really have the measurements on the outside of that. That would have been a nice touch. It has the max fill line, but that's really it with this. Just showing like 8-ounce increments or something like that would be nice to have on this. I don't think these things are deal breakers by any means, because that actually, none of this stuff impacts performance. The performance is great, and that's really what you are wanting out of this, right? It brews the coffee really, really quick. You have the strong brew option, which it does, to me, it seems like it's putting more heat on it, so it does make it so you do taste the difference with that. It just has a little bit more kick on the coffee. It tastes a little bit more bold, really, with that flavor. And again, that performance on this, because it's just making it, you push the button and it's already pumping out the liquid like 5 to 10 seconds after that. Everything's quick and convenient, and that's really what you want. These are just kind of secondary things that I noticed. The other thing in terms of a negative really has more to do with the reusable K cup, and that was the sticker on it. They just need to do away with that, because it leaves that residue on the outside. It takes forever to get the sticker off, and then you have to clean up that whole mess. It's just a pain. So to wrap this video up, I'm going to showcase this compared to the Keurig Mini that I have, and just look at the dimensions and kind of just talk about my closing thoughts with this. Interestingly enough, the Keurig Mini and the K Express coffee maker are very comparable in size. One quick side note before I get ahead of myself, I haven't mentioned the price yet on this because, one, I'm assuming most people have already looked that up for themselves before watching this video, but two, I wanted to cover it here while I'm making the comparison between these two. So the K Express is $80 and the K Mini is $100. So keep that in mind when I talk about everything here, because the K Mini is 20 bucks more than the K Express, while also lacking features that that one has. But let's get back to the dimensions. There's a subtle difference here, but my concern was if it's going to be way bigger, it's not going to fit where we actually usually have the Keurig Mini, and it's not. It's maybe a hair longer, slightly taller, and that's about it. And one of the things that I noticed is that's really cool, because you took the reservoir, you made it much bigger, put it on the back end, and it's still close to the same size, right? So with the Keurig Mini, you only have the top reservoir, and it builds up a lot of calcium. I left that thing dirty because I wanted to showcase also, hey, not only does it get dirty, but think about that smooth plastic that I talked about and how dirty not only is that going to get, but potentially scratched up it's going to get. But with the Keurig Mini here, you have to fill that up. You only get the one coffee out of it. It goes the 8, 10, 12. You don't get to actually change the brew intensity. This one has the brew intensity with it. That's awesome. I like that feature. I also like the fact that it tells you on this, hey, this is going to need you to clean it. You need to descale this thing. Hey, this is low on water. So it has all those just little features with this one that make it so much better than the Keurig Mini, in my opinion. So just a recap on all of this, right? You have the reservoir with the K Express coffee maker. You have the change in the brew, so you can make this stronger. You get to choose with the button which size that you want versus actually pouring that amount of water in the reservoir, and then that's what you would get. It's going to let you know when you actually need to clean this thing, where the K Mini isn't going to do that. And then you still get the same features that you do get with the K Mini. So you do have the bottom there that you could slide out. You can put in that travel mug that's tall in order to get your coffee into that. You can remove the molding on the inside for the K cups, and then you get to actually use the reusable K cup if you want to. And so all these features, the upside of the regular K Mini is still there with a lot of extras that just make it a far superior product in my opinion. And one last time to reiterate the difference in time, 5 to 10 seconds for the Keurig Express versus the Keurig Mini taking roughly 30 to 45, maybe even 60 seconds before it starts kicking out liquid. That is a huge time saver right there. So that's actually going to wrap this video up. I hope this has helped you in regards to your purchasing decision when it comes to the K Express coffee maker.